All right, I hope you can all see my screen. So this is just for that scoring thing. Yeah, I mean, I will talk about the verbal part soon. I really want to throw a good amount of light on exactly how the verbal module can be dealt with, especially in terms of sentence correction and all that. And you'll see like from what kind of a different angle I approach sentence correction. But generally, right, what does it take to get a 700 on the GMAT? Now, uh, when you look at verbal and quant scores, the way the percentiles are graded, right, they're completely different. Now, I'm sure you, like with a little bit of research and all that, you'll know exactly how many questions there are. So I don't want to go into that and all that, all right? So the score that Ashank showed you and all that, this is like a scale score component, all right? So on the verbal and quant, things are different, right? So in quant, if you get a 51, as he showed you, that'll fall somewhere in the 96th to the 98th percentiles and all that, all right? But when you go to 50, you'll be shocked that the drop in percentile is tremendous. This will go to somewhere in the 85th percentiles, all right? Somewhere in the range of that. And when you fall to 49, it'll go to somewhere like 73rd to 75th percentile and all that. See the drop, right? So, and there is only one main reason for this. You know what a percentile ranking means, right? It depends on how well you've performed against the entire population, right? So, because you know, there are a lot of Indian and Chinese GMAT takers and all that. The quants percentile is like way, you know, way divided. The gap is too huge because we generally tend to excel in this. But on the other hand, verbal is a different story. Even if there are a lot of American GMAT test takers and all that, even they are not like really great at verbal or something like that. Of course, their native tongue is English, and people who are like I mean, well versed with the language might do well, but even they struggle with it. And that's exactly why a 51, 50, 49, 48, 47, 46, they are all 99 percentile on verbal. See that? That's the game here, right? They're all 99th percentile. So you manage to crack a 46, but the thing is, getting here, right, on the quant, is most of my students, right, like I would even you know, go as far as to say 99% of my students have easily cracked 49 and above. 99% of my students. But verbal, this is a tough ask. So what does it take to actually get to a 700, right? If you're able to score a 49 in quant, and if you're able to get a 35 or a 36, that is all it takes. All right, that's all it takes to get this magical figure of 700. But people struggle here also, right? Getting to a 35 for many people seems like a big deal. They think because when they take mock tests and all that, they feel like, oh my god, even 30 is a big deal for them. But you know, in my opinion, 35 should be like that minimum score that you at least target for, right? So to get to a 740 or a 750, you would just need to boost the score to a 39 or a 40. You know, that's it. If you go to a 39, 40, you are there. You are there at a 740 and a 750 and all that. So with that extra boost in effort, right? With that extra boost in terms of guidance, in terms of practice and things like that, you can easily get to that, right? Provided, as I said, you know, your quants component is definitely that. So I'm assuming that many people here, you know, come from an engineering background and all that. So, you know, the fundamentals might already kind of be in place, right? Now, it just probably needs a revisit, a jog of memory to ensure that, you know, you kind of, this is exactly how you work with quants and all that, right? And as Ashank said, right, this is not simply a test of math, it's a test of logic. So it's about how you can process the logic that is asked in a question and apply a mathematical formula. You understand? So the approach to GMAT should be from that perspective, rather than just think, if I can master a bunch of mathematical formulae, I'm all set. You're not. It's not the way at all. And yeah, the way GMAT tests also, right? It's completely a far cry from the standardized coaching that we have had so far and all that. All right. So I hope this is clear, right? How the percentile breakage is and how exactly you can get to that 740 or 750 score. But see, many institutions will say, you know, we are looking for a 700 average and things like that, right? But here's the catch. If they say 700 is the average they're looking for, then your target should be break that, to pass that average. It should not be that I'm only going for that average. It should be to break that average, because they'll have numerous applications from that, in that 700 range itself. And there are so many other criteria also they gauge at the same time in terms of profile and the essays you write and all that. And Ashok mentioned that, right, that we will kind of help you look into your profile, upgrade your profile, give you profile enhancement tips and things like that, right? So it's kind of an all-encompassing thing. Then when they look into your when they look into the admission criteria and all that, all right? So anyways, enough of this. As I said, if you dig deeper, you can understand what exactly it takes to get to such a score and all that, but I hope this is clear. So I'm going into my PPT here, which is stand corrected, sentence corrected. And I felt that it would be a very interesting title, because it is about kind of changing the very perspective that one has towards sentence correction. All right, this is something that I talk about in my classes a lot, that if you look at it from a very blunt perspective, that I think like I only have to read a lot, or I have to study a lot of grammar, and then I'm going to be set for the whole verbal part and sentence correction and reading comprehension things. Like, again, right, it's kind of very distant from what exactly the GMAT expects from a test taker. All right, so before we get into this, let me establish some ground rules here. I love to have a very structured session. All right, at the same time, I love to have a very interactive session. So at no point in time am I gonna stop you from a question, or it's not gonna be a monologue of sorts in which I'm gonna keep talking, and you don't have any opportunity to ask me questions or anything like that. I will invite questions, all right? But I will invite them, and I'll give you some time to put the questions, because I know a lot of people are here on the workshop, and I'll try to address them to the best of my extent. And please bear with any technical issues, power cuts, Wi-Fi cuts, whatever. The session is being recorded for your convenience. So at any given point in time, if you disconnect, try to connect back within 1 or 2 minutes. If you can't, it's being recorded. Don't worry about it. All right? Cool. Let's get into this. So here's a verbal section breakup. In the 65 minutes that you're given for the verbal section, you have 36 questions to attempt. And generally, when I've attempted the test, the breakup that I've noticed is this: there will be about 10 to 12 questions of critical reasoning, 12 to 14 questions of sentence correction, and 13 to 14 questions of reading comprehension. All right, and if you look at exactly the number of questions on reading comprehension, I want to suggest to you right now that that is kind of the most critical section, But then, when I conduct my classes of reading comprehension and all of that, you will see that even though RC is the most time consuming, right? We all know that. Even though RC is the most time consuming, the flip side is that sentence correction is the most time saving entity. Yeah. And sentence correction is something that you can nail with absolute certainty. Most of the questions, at least 90% of them, right, is the most time-saving entity. So, of course, even if you see a breakup in which, you can see like approximately 33% split among these three components, you can't obviously dedicate the same amount of time to all these things, right? So, because RC would take up a lot of time. So, in order to have a good amount of time for RC, it's important to save a lot of time with SC, right? And that's exactly what I'm going to show you here. And it's not, again, I'm not just talking about the timing strategy, not at all. I want to show you exactly how I approach it. So let's, first of all, I don't know how many of you are new to GMAT, very, very fresh. So I want to show you the format of a sentence correction question itself. Please don't attempt to solve this. There's no need to. We have questions to come. I'll throw a lot of sentences at you. Don't worry about it. Looking at a format of a sentence correction question. You'll have this one sentence with an underlined portion. We have one sentence. This is what we call the stimulus. All right. And this has an underlying portion. Now, don't always think that this underlying portion is something that has an error. All right. Don't always think that. Because when we think sentence correction, we'll be like, yeah, that's wrong. So I'll go look at my answer choices and all that and see which one is right. It's not the case at all. So I want you to keep in mind that the underlying portion may or may not have an error. Okay. may or may not have an error. And answer choice A, if you can notice, repeats the underlying portion. All right. And so what does it mean? See, this itself is kind of a good component of strategizing for sentence correction, right? If I know that the original construction is absolutely fine, answer choice A is my answer. That's it, job done. But it's kind of funny that I can, it's easy to differentiate between like a first-time sentence correction taker and a person, somebody who is like well versed with it. That the person who is well versed will know that answer choice A can also be right. But the person who is like first timer and all that, never marks A, right? Why would the original sentence itself be right? Trust me, so many questions that the original construction itself is right. Yeah. Answer choice A repeats the underlying portion. So if we see that the sentence is just fine, go ahead, mark A, your job is done, right? But if we know that there is an error, then don't read A again, get it? You eliminate A and work with only the remaining 4 answer choices. That itself saves a lot of time, yeah? And then you just have to look for some error or the other in the rest of the answer choices and, work your way with them. Finish, job done. So when you try to speed things up this way, right, your sentence correction questions can be cracked in just a minute. That's exactly what I pitch as an objective to students who take the sentence correction module and all that, right? That your target should be 1 minute per question. And maybe you might take 1 minute 20 per in 1 or 2 questions, but balance that out. Maybe you will probably take around 40 seconds per question. That's all. So if you try to balance it out like that, it's an average, right? And you would be able to get done with all these sentence correction questions in maybe 15 minutes tops, right? That's the picture. That's the way I want you to look at sentence correction, as the most time-saving entity. All right. So let's get this going. What is exactly the main problem that I see with Indian test takers? As Indians, we are used to a conventional use of the English language, isn't it? And we tend to, even if I showed you a sentence right now, the first angle that you would look at that sentence by is from how that sounds to you. Does that sound right? Does that sound wrong? Things like that. Okay. Oh, by the way, I have a question for you. How many of you will give the GMAT in like 2 or 3 months? Wow. Nice. So many of you. That's exactly why you're on the workshop, aren't you? Awesome. See, that the thing is, you just, you rush to answer my question. You answered my question because, it sounded right to you. You know what I asked you? I asked you how many of you will give the GMAT in 2 or 3 months. But you know what's the right way to say that? How many of you will take the test? You don't give a test, you take a test. All right. So to the Indians here, right, it's all fine. It's all fine. Everything is fine. Whatever we say, everybody will understand that, and you like rush to answer that, because who gives a damn, right? I mean, as long as the other party understands whatever we speak and all that, correct? So that's the first pitfall, right? The subconscious decision of whether an answer choice sounds right or sounds wrong. That's perhaps the biggest pitfall. So are we looking at SE from the right angle is the question that I have to pitch. All right. So I'm going to show you something interesting here. Okay. And based on something that, again, the challenge that we as Indians face. All right. We tend to use the word only a lot. Have you noticed? If you speak to somebody, you use the word only a lot. For example, if you ask somebody, where are you? Where are you? And that person might respond, I am here only. Okay. I am here only. I think you all know what I mean, right? I am here only. Here's my, I know it sounds right to you, but here's my question. What is that only? Do you know? What is that only? And why do we use that only? What is that only and why do we use that only? Come on, let me hear some answers. I'm here only, yeah, to emphasize, isn't it? Exactly. We stress on the fact that I'm here. So yes, exactly, right? We're literally translating. Exactly. If, for example, in Hindi, right, if you want to like kind of, if you want to kind of stress on this idea, we would say, for example, in Hindi, मैं इधर ही हूँ, right? मैं इधर ही हूँ. So direct translation, I'm here only. Okay, kind of like that, right? So what GMAT can do is take advantage of this kind of weakness and use that word only in different places and confuse the hell out of you, right? Does anybody know how exactly to convey this with emphasis? Like, you know, I want to say I am here, but with emphasis, which is the right formal way of putting that across. Yeah, not I'm exactly here, I'm right here. Good, good, good. Yeah, but you know, when you speak, I'm here only is the first thing we'll all say. Agree to that, right? Because even I do that. Because when I speak very fast, you know, obviously I'm Indian, right? So it just comes out very spontaneously. I'm here only, take care, you know. So that kind of that angle, right? That is something that we kind of need to eliminate when we look at sentence correction questions. So the judgment of sound proves to be a very grave mistake. And honestly, right, even if I say that, I've seen numerous students, like at least during the first few sessions, do the judgment of sound, because the main problem is at that point they're not able to understand exactly what do I work with here, right? So it's kind of, let's say, an unlearning and a relearning process. So you slowly eliminate that judgment by sound and you start applying exactly what GMAT wants you to apply. Get it? So over here, right, I told you that they could use the word only, toss it around in a few places and confuse you like crazy, right? So for example, if I said Martha told only Tom to eat that cake. Okay. Next sentence. Martha told Tom only to eat that cake. I hope my scribble is legible, all right? So Martha told Tom to eat only that cake. Now tell me, you know, I have played around with this word only, right? Do these three sentences mean the same? Do these mean the same? Of course not. Good judgment. They're not. Again, when we speak, right, when we casually speak, we might throw this word anywhere. We might throw this word anywhere. But the idea is to now understand exactly how these three things create a meaning difference, right? So I invite you to tell me the meaning of the first sentence. Martha told only Tom to eat that cake, right? What is the meaning of that sentence? Oh, every single one is correct, Pearl. By the way, every single one is correct. It's just that the meanings change, all right? Only Tom and not Ram, okay. Yeah, so Martha told only Tom to eat that cake would mean that this only is something that applies to Tom, and she is telling only this guy. There might have been other people, there are other people, but she's telling only to Tom, right? Tom, eat that cake. That's it. Get it? So the second one, Martha told Tom only to eat that cake. Martha told Tom only to eat that cake. To eat it and not probably smash it on the floor. Correct. So some of you are saying that it might apply to the cake alone. No, that's not the thing. The only here applies to the action. That means she's telling Tom, Martha told Tom, just do this action, eat that cake, don't do any other action, all right? Don't drink water, don't go and stand somewhere, don't talk to me, don't do any other action, just do this action. You get it? So this only here applies to that action. Now Martha told Tom to eat only that cake. Now I know you guys will know that it only applies to the cake. Don't eat any other cake, right? So you guys know that. Good, you're on board. So the thing is, now you're able to see exactly how the placement of certain entities could change the meaning dramatically, right? It's not that we saw everything from, okay, they all, you know, sound the same, they all must mean the same. Absolutely not. They are very different, isn't it? So in right now, I'm just giving this to you superficially, right? But in my classes, I'll tell you exactly what grammatical aspect this is, grammatical aspect that is, and this is, right? So I'll tell you exactly what these things are and how they work and why they modify. Oh yeah, Suchit, I'm getting to that. Don't worry, because these are just my simple examples. Yeah, I can't thrust you into the GMAT right away, isn't it? So patience. The workshop is not over yet. So just a simple example to show you exactly what GMAT is going to play with. Yeah. So let's move forward. Now here are a couple of actual GMAT sentences. All right. I want you guys to tell me which one is right, which one is wrong, why. You don't have to like really type why. I'll ask you that, but just, you know, I just want to know which one is right, which one is wrong, and all that. All right. Give these a read. Yes, I'm looking at your answers. Go on. I'm just giving everybody some time. Yeah, investigate the sentence properly, right? Check out these words. All right. Okay, cool. First is wrong, second is wrong. Both are wrong. I have a big mixed bag here. All right, so let's uncover these sentences. The first one, unlike the virginal, whose single set of strings, yeah, some are saying both are wrong, yeah. So whose single set of strings runs parallel to the front edge of the instrument, the harpsichord's several sets of strings are placed at right angles to its front edge. Cool. When I read it like this, I think it sounds just fine, correct? I think it sounds just fine, but there are problems. I don't know. In a speech before the Senate Banking Committee, the chairman of the Federal Reserve painted an optimistic picture of the economy, suggesting to investors that the central bank would not lower interest rates in the near future, right? Suggesting, yeah, so some have said, you know, this first one seems right, first one is wrong, the second one definitely sounds wrong, and all that. Now I want to show you exactly how GMAT has laid out these sentences, and I want you to compare it with other other constructions as well. All right, so let me show you that. The first sentence: unlike the virginal, whose single set of strings runs parallel to the front edge of the instrument. So what I showed you in the previous slide was this one, all right? And what I'm comparing, what I want you to compare it with is this one. Unlike the virginal, whose single set of strings runs parallel to the front edge of the instrument, the harpsichord has several set of strings placed at right angles. Now, something that GMAT does is, as I said, underline, right? And what that underline helps us to do is target the place of error. All right, target the place of error. We know exactly where to look for error. So the error must be contained inside these, right? So now that I've shown you these two choices, what exactly can you notice as a difference? The harpsichord's several sets of strings versus the harpsichord has several sets of strings, right? So what exactly do you think is going on? Can anybody tell me what exactly tense has? Is that right, wrong? What are you saying? Is that right or wrong? Tense has. What exactly do you think is going on? Let me get some feedback. All right, the tense has is right. Okay, fine. You're looking at it from a missing which. Okay. All right, guys. See, thanks for the answers. Good. Some of you have it. Some of you are slightly confused here. So let me show you. So some of you saying like, you know, we need to introduce a which are and stuff like that, right? Honestly, no. As I told you, right, these are the GMAT sentences. One of these is right. Okay. The actual concept that is being tested here is called the concept of comparisons. This is just an example, but I just want to show you with some simple examples. Simple sentences, all right? Unlike Tom's forehead, Ram's forehead is big, all right? Now, simple examples. Unlike Tom, Ram's forehead is big. Unlike Tom's forehead, Ram's forehead is big. What exactly is correct here? Which exactly out of the two is correct? I think you now know what exactly should be correct. Yes, good. The second one is correct. Good. Because if I say unlike Tom, Ram's forehead is big, I'm making a big mistake that I'm comparing Tom, all right? I'm comparing Tom to Ram's forehead, all right? I'm comparing Tom to Ram's forehead, which is called an invalid comparison because it's not logically sound at all. Because there is this one main rule in comparisons that you can only compare logical comparables, right? And comparisons is one of the most painful parts of sentence correction for many test takers, yeah? And in the second one, it's saying, unlike Tom's forehead, Ram's forehead. So what is happening here? We are comparing the foreheads here. You get it? So that's exactly what you need to measure by logic. Which are the right entities that are being compared? So here, in the first one, we have, unlike the virginal, the harpsichord several sets of strings. See, maybe you might not know what a virginal is, but then the way it is describing and all that, right? It very clearly helps us understand that the virginal is a musical instrument, right? It's fine. In the same way, if you look at the second part of that sentence, the harpsichord's several set of strings. So What is incorrect or invalid in the first sentence is that the virginal is being compared to the harpsichord's set of strings. All right. So it is not being compared to a musical instrument. Rather, the musical instrument is being compared to a set of strings. And the second sentence rectifies that. Unlike the virginal, the harpsichord. All right. That is the perfect comparison. So when I'm looking at a question like this, right, all I have to do is, okay, I know that there is this word unlike, I know that there is this virginal, so let me see what exactly that is being compared to. And there we go, harpsichord, this must be the right answer. Job done. You see that approach, right? That approach helps us to kind of eliminate a lot of junk that is present in the sentence and look at it from a very streamlined fashion, right? You can narrow it down to the exact position that you have to target to find the right answer. Get it? Now, many of you pointed out that the whose is wrong and it should have been which. Well, because we think whose is something that can be used only for people. So if I said, for example, the person whose arm is broken, right? The person whose arm is broken has been admitted to the hospital. But if I said the chair whose leg is broken has been taken for repairs, it'll sound wrong to you, right? Because chair is not a person. But guys, whose is applicable to anything. Plants, animals, objects, people, anything, all right? So whose is used to indicate a possession. So when I say the person whose arm is broken or the chair whose leg is broken, I'm saying the arm belongs to the person or the the leg belongs to the chair. Get it? So see, these are the things that I'm talking about, right? When we judge by sound, that sentence would look wrong because of the presence of whose rather than the presence of this invalid comparison. Get it? So the second construction is the right one here. So we have to know that comparisons can only be done within two logical entities. All right. Now look at this thing. In a speech before the Senate Banking Committee, this is what I showed you. And many of you said this was wrong, right? Many of you said that. Why? Because of this word, suggesting to investors that the central bank would not lower interest, blah, blah, blah. But then if I showed you in a speech before the Senate Banking Committee, the chairman of the Federal Reserve painted an optimistic picture of the economy, which suggested to investors in the near future, interest rates will not be lowered by the central bank. So when you compare suggesting and which suggests, this might definitely look like a much better option, isn't it? This would definitely be something that sounds better and all that, right? But can you guys tell me here, what does this which refer to? Let's look at this construction. What does the which refer to here, guys? Yeah, the picture of the economy. All right. No, it's not referring to the speech. Yeah. Sushant, yeah, when you logically think about it, it is supposed to refer to the speech. But because I'm placing it here, the which is actually referring to this picture of the economy. And so this sentence will read that the picture of the economy suggested to investors in the near future, rates will not be lowered by the central bank. So you see, that's it. That logical catch is all you need to understand here, that how can a picture of the economy suggest to investors this thing? Eliminate, job done. But then this is something that sounds wrong to us because we never speak like this, nor do we write like this, all right? Suggesting to investors, when have I ever written like this? Because we see that the chairman of the Federal Reserve painted a picture, right? Painted a picture. So when we say painted, it seems like, that was something that happened in the past. So this seems like something that is currently happening. But actually, guys, this is not something that is represented as a current action. Let me illustrate it with a very simple example, all right? Because in my teaching style, I focus on trying to relate such complex constructions to very simple examples, which actually would make sense to you. So for example, if I said, I watched my favorite movie eating popcorn. Now say that, speak that sentence in your mind. And I'm sure you'll agree that that sounds fine. Right? I watched my favorite movie eating popcorn. I watched my favorite movie eating popcorn. Doesn't that sound right? Isn't that a perfect sentence in your heads, guys? I watched my favorite movie eating popcorn. Yes or no? I watched my favorite movie eating popcorn. Yes or no? Yes, it sounds right, isn't it? So some of you said no. If you said no, like a couple of you said no. Most others said yes, because we speak like this, right? I watch my favorite movie eating popcorn and all that, right? It's very simple and straightforward. So actually what is going on, No, it doesn't mean that the movie is eating popcorn. Not at all. It does not. Okay. When you put a comma here and insert a construction like this, all right, this is what is called a present participle modifier. Now, I don't want to go into the in-depth concepts and all that. This will be definitely taught in classes from the ground up. Don't worry about that. But when I see a comma and such a construction, I can understand that this is a present participle modifier which can modify the meaning of this sentence. So this is a very formal construction style. That is exactly why most people are not aware of this construction. Most people are not. They think that it just sounds invalid. This is a very formal construction style. Trust me, if you write like this, your mails will look, your mails will look more classy and all that, right? But of course, others won't understand. Yeah. So what happens is this eating popcorn is actually modifying the meaning, saying that while I watched my movie, I was eating popcorn. All right. So this modifier can help the sentence indicate a case of simultaneous actions in which this happens to be the main action and this will happen to be the sub action. Get it? That this was happening while this was happening. In the same way, when the chairman of the Federal Reserve painted an optimistic picture of the economy, she was simultaneously, in that picture that she painted, she simultaneously suggested to investors that the central bank would not lower interest rates in the near future. So this presence of this comma plus present participle modifier, we just simply need to understand that this creates an impact on this meaning, suggesting a case of simultaneous actions. And many GMAT questions test for this construct, many GMAT questions, because they know that many test takers are not used to such a construction. So many GMAT questions I've seen where this present participle modifier is put at the end of this sentence, and they want us to see whether we are able to gauge exactly how the modifier works. But people might not see that and might go for something else that sounds a little better, right? So this is a perfect construction on the GMAT or in the English language itself. Get it? So that is exactly what I want to show you here, right? What I want to show you, it's not a gerund, it's not a gerundive. What I want to show you here is that this kind of a codified approach which can be brought into sentence correction. But when I say codified, I'm not simply saying, okay, we learn only the rules of grammar and we off with that. No, we should be able to understand it from a logical sense. All the while, when I teach you how exactly to approach a sentence correction question, all the while I'll be saying, let's not judge by sound. Let's not judge by sound. All the while, this is exactly what I'll be saying. All right. And when it comes to grammar, right, I am telling you that this is not a grammatic. Why does a test that is an entrance criteria for an MBA application, why the hell would that test have grammatical rules that is mainly testing for? Because that is not their play at all. That is not. The entire test is a test of logical reasoning, right? The entire test, quants and verbal. Even people might think, how is reading comprehension logic? I'll show you that, right? I'll show you exactly how reading comprehension also has a very logical methodology. And even sentence correction, right? When you look at 90% of the GMAT questions, they will be dealing with one of these concepts or the other. Subject-verb agreement, pronouns, modifiers, idioms, parallelisms, comparisons, tenses. And in my sentence correction module, I will be covering all of these concepts from the ground up, exactly the way GMAT tests for it, exactly the way this rule can be applied on a particular question to solve it in no time at all, right? So there are no thousands of grammatical rules that you would have to worry about. Only these 7 concepts that GMAT tests for, all right? And if we master these 7 concepts, you will be done easily with the majority of the questions. But that would still mean that you are still looking at the question from only one angle, all right? And that would be a very invalid thing to tell you right now. Cool. So as I said, learning only these 7 rules to tackle SC is very similar to saying, if you learn the theory of driving a car, you can start driving right away. Not at all. As I said, it's a test that is testing for logical ability, and sentence correction is mainly testing whether a particular student, a particular test taker is able to understand which is the most effective construction that can convey the best communication, all right, but that can convey the best meaning in the most effective sense. So among the choices given to you, among the 5 choices given to you, they're asking you to pick the one that has the best construction, the perfect concepts, and conveying the perfect logic. So when we teach here, I'm every time that I teach you, every time we dig into a question to understand exactly how to approach it, we will approach it from a concept based. These are those 7 concepts that I talked about, but the logic based and the construction based are also so crucial. And what I've noticed is that this is where most others are lacking. Most others are only teaching this because they want to equip people with the bare minimum to go and crack the sentence correction module at least. But when we can have so much power in sentence correction, why the hell to think of a bare minimum approach when we can look at it from an all-encompassing fashion from these 3 angles, that we can have a concept based, a logic based, and a construction based attack. All right, so I'm going to start with the first one. Okay, what exactly is a construction based attack? I'm not going to go into grammatical details because we don't have time for all of that in the workshop. All right, I'm going to work with what we are aware of in everyday life and exactly how that can be applied without digging too much into the details and all of that. All right, so see, a sentence is supposed to have proper construction. Without that, what is a sentence? It can't be, right? But test takers who only practice by the grammar are bound to overlook this. You will be surprised how many people I see in my initial classes not able to process that there is a construction problem, because many of you pointed out that lengthy construction is a hassle for me. What do I do? What do I do? Right? And that lengthy construction is the reason exactly why people have a trouble processing these construction based problems. I want you guys to read this sentence. All right, I want you guys to read this sentence. Go on, let's see. What exactly are you able to see? Tell me whether you think the construction of this sentence is right or wrong. All right, tell me whether you think it is right or wrong. Yes, I will provide an example of how to think logically. Don't worry. It'll be over within half an hour, right? Don't worry, it'll be over within half an hour. Where instead of were, so you think it is wrong. What do you think is wrong? Many of you said there's some problem, right? So let me kind of get what you feel is wrong here. Which part, at least which part? I don't want you to write the whole thing, right? Like which part you think is erroneous, that's all. Just point out, right? All of you are saying that, so many of you are saying this where is wrong because it should not be like where, it should be like were. So that's the point, isn't it? Yeah, go on. Others? Is the use of but wrong? I can put that down here. Is the use of but wrong? Let's see. Okay, go on, keep it going. Though and but are redundant. Good point. All right, I'll highlight there as well. Though and but are redundant. Awesome. Good. Okay, good answers. So here's the thing. All right, let me give you once again a very simple sentence. All right, the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi. Is this a sentence? The Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi. Is that a sentence? No, exactly. What is problematic in this sentence is that we do not know what Narendra Modi did or what Narendra Modi is doing or what his state is or something. So what would be more complete is to say the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, passed the Swachh Bharat Commission or something, let's say. All right, let's just say. Now this sentence is complete, isn't it? Now you guys will agree that the sentence is complete, because what happened here is that I had something called as the subject, but when I first showed you just Narendra Modi, what was missing was this verb element, this action or state of being that is, applicable to Narendra Modi. So many students are not able to see such a small constructional aspect in many sentences because they're not even looking at it from this angle, and they're not able to look at this from this angle because of the wordiness of the sentence. All right, look at this. The Prime Minister of India was actually, a description for Narendra Modi. That's all. In the same way, spear points with longitudinal grooves that are chipped onto the faces. Spear points with longitudinal grooves that are chipped onto the faces, comma, same construction, Clovis points. So see, this is a description for Clovis points. All right, this is the description for the subject of Clovis points. All right, and if you see after that, immediately they put a comma, even though blah blah blah, but were blah blah blah. So what I can notice is that GMAT is messing around with me, trying to trap me, right? Because I have a subject, but the Clovis points does not have a main verb here. All right, Clovis points do not have. What about these Clovis points? What are these Clovis points? What about them? Are they doing some action? Are they in a state of being? What about them? I don't know, right? So because I don't know, that is not addressed by the verb, we can easily get rid of this. That's it. So you know what all these things are? Distractions, 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 just clutter. Many of you pointed out very logically, right, that this even though and but are redundant. You know how many of us, how many Indians I've noticed speak with even though and but or although and but together in the same sentence. Although I studied hard, but I'm not able to work on this. Even though I did this, but I'm not able to do that. So for many Indians, that seems like proper construction, but that is not, because even though itself conveys a contrast, and but also conveys a contrast. So if there are two contrasting transitions, what exactly are you trying to convey? This is causing a clear-cut redundancy, get it? So you see, this construction fails in many aspects. First of all, it's missing a main verb. Secondly, it's causing it's using two transitions of contrast, that's causing a redundancy. So we can safely knock off this choice just by gauging whether this subject has a verb. That is all. And for a construction angle, construction-based attack, that's exactly what I tell students to gauge in every sentence. Look for the subject, look for the verb. So it is not something only that needs to be applicable to the concept of subject-verb agreement. Remember, I showed you that one of the concepts is subject-verb agreement, but that is a grammatical play, right? This is a construction-based thing, whether the sentence itself is proper in the first place, all right? So we can get rid of this one. Second, a concept-based attack, all right? Now, I told you before that many of these questions operate within the 7 aforementioned concepts, right? If you guys learn these concepts properly, and if you know exactly how to, you know, the way we take these sessions, right? I ensure that a student learns a concept and immediately follows it up with questions that in which you can apply those concepts, all right, in from the official guide itself, because I feel that there's no other source better than the official guide. But of course, as Ashank mentioned before, the explanations of the official guide are downright garbage. They, you know, because they outsource these applications to someone, and they seem to not care at all. I don't know why they do that. I think one explanation is just because it's a business for them, right? It's a business. They want to make sure that they don't reveal everything that they're testing for, so they want to keep it ambiguous, right? So the explanations are downright garbage. So I ensure that people learn these rules from the ground up and start applying it from a simple question straight, you know, till an advanced question, like how exactly does this work? So there are these absolute rules of grammar that you would have to learn, right? But only these 7. And we can work with these 7 for a very codified approach. Let's look at these 2 sentences now, all right? Now I don't want you to worry about constructions, because here constructions are fine. Clovis points are spear points. Clovis points are spear points. Construction is just fine. Look through these sentences and let me see whether you're able to find any grammatical problem, something that may seem shady, all right? I'll keep the chat box open. Let's see. See whether you're able to find some grammatical problem. Yes, good. Go on, guys. Yes. Look at it from a grammar angle, yeah? Where they were first discovered. Yeah, good. Named for the new, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. These are, if when you read a construction like named for and all that, those are just idiomatic constructions. Don't worry about that right now. Idioms are, GMAT does test for idioms, but if you know, like when you learn from a set of idioms, you will be just fine with them, all right? Oh, I'm so sorry. I think like I pasted the different thing. Okay, no worries. Don't worry about the second sentence. Someone just pointed out both are same. I think I copy pasted the wrong one. But something that can be noticed, as you guys pointed out very rightly, is that this have been discovered in 1932 has been used. All right. So can I say right now that Mahatma Gandhi has been assassinated? Can I say this right now? Mahatma Gandhi has been assassinated. Can I say this? No. How should I say this? Mahatma Gandhi, what should I say? Exactly, right? Mahatma Gandhi was assassinated. Perfect, guys. Was. Why? Because when I say has been, it seems like something that just happened right now in the recent present or something like that. But this was an event that happened way back in the past. So if it happened way back in the past, just like this 1932, how can I use have been? I should not use this. So this grammatical thing, right? The have been is called the present perfect tense, all right? And how can I use a present perfect tense for 1932? What I should be using is this one, which is called the simple past tense. So you see, when we have the conceptual framework, we know exactly when we look at a problem, we can quickly identify that and look at any answer choice containing the same problem and get rid of that. Job done, right? Good enough. And now what is a logic-based attack? See, you should understand one thing, right? Logic comes from common sense. And common sense is not something that can be taught to somebody, all right? But what we are here to teach you is how exactly you can apply your common sense into these questions. That when GMAT tests for a meaning in a sentence, how exactly does it want you to look at that meaning in a sentence, and how you guys can use a meaning-based attack to solve that, right? So see this now. Although name for the New Mexico, right now I don't want you to see grammar, I don't want you to worry about construction. Now read the whole sentence and look at the meaning. Although name for the New Mexico site were first discovered in 1932, Clovis points as spear points of longitudinal grooves chipped onto their faces. Is this meaning right? Had been is wrong, Abhinav, because that is the past perfect tense, and past perfect can only be used in a different situation, all right? More on that in my classes. I really don't want to waste your time on that now. Don't worry about that right now, okay? We will definitely deal with tenses. When I say tenses, we'll deal with tenses in a very full-fledged fashion. Don't worry about that. Yes, Kavish, we're getting there. Yeah, I told you, right? There's less few more minutes left on the session. Don't worry about that, all right? Let's look at this. Let's look at this. Kavish, no, that is not possible because I told you, right? Only logical point of attack, yeah, it kind of can be done, but the problem is if you go only by a logical based attack, you will take a lot of time. So in order to prevent that, you have to work with these three things, all right? You have to work with these three things and ensure that these concepts are learnt as well. So those concepts will be taught, do not worry. Those are particular, very specific concepts that you have to take into the game of sentence correction. Don't worry, all right? Again, guys, I'm asking you to look for the logic, not the idiomatic problem and all of that. Look at the logic. Although name for this site, Clovis points are, okay, all right? Let's see. This seems wrong, seems okay, ta-ta-ta-ta. All right, fine, let's see. Would you agree with this sentence? Although he is a hard worker, he eats a lot. Does this make sense? Although he is a hard worker, he eats a lot. Does this make sense to any of you? This contrast? Of course not, right? Absolutely not. Although he's a hard worker, he eats a lot. How does this even make sense? The purpose of using although is to convey a contrasting meaning, right? So I can, for example, if I say, although he's a hard worker, many people think he's lazy. Now, does this make sense? Many people think he's lazy. Exactly, right? This makes perfect sense. So in the same way, look at this one, meaning, although name for the New Mexico site were first discovered, although name for this particular place, Clovis points are spear points. What the hell is the contrast here? Although name for this site, these are spear points of longitudinal grooves. There is absolutely no sense. What is the contrast between their name for this site, but these are spear points of longitudinal grooves? Has absolutely no meaning there, right? And this is exactly why this contrast does not work at all. And this is what I mean by a logic-based attack, right? When you look at an answer choice like this, you know that this contrast Absolutely makes no sense. If they say something like, although name for the New Mexico site, they have been found. If they were drawing a contrast between this idea and only this idea, it would have made perfect sense. Although name for only that site, they've been found all over North America. This would have made perfect sense. But the immediate contrast that they are drawing is, although name for the New Mexico site, Clovis points are spear points. Makes no sense. That's out. All right. So when you put that all together, this is a high level question on the GMAT. All right. This is a high level question. So I wanted to kind of individually dissect this high level question. I want you to look at what we have done right now. I want to see the framework that we have used to kind of attack this question, right? What and all have we dealt with? The construction-based attack, the concept-based attack, and the logic-based attack. See, look at this. These points were first discovered in 1932, but you see two choices saying have been first discovered in 1932 and they have been first discovered in 1932. You see that? So just by catching only those errors, we can get rid of C&E, right? And then we saw that construction-based problem. Spear points with longitudinal grooves that are chipped onto the faces, Clovis points. So we had the subject, but we saw that in this construction, we did not have a verb for this Clovis points, right? So we know that this is a construction-based problem. And although name for the New Mexico site were first discovered, Clovis points as spear points of longitudinal, we just saw that by meaning, this makes no sense, B goes off. So what is your answer? The original construction itself. So you see, that is exactly what GMAT wants you to work with. So if I said it's only the concepts, name, it won't work out. It's only construction, no, it won't work out. It's only meaning, maybe, but very time consuming. So attacking it from these three angles, you see, that's exactly what makes us the most efficient in sentence correction. And you need to be well equipped with these three angles. Anybody who tells you that, you know, you're going to be good only with these 7 concepts, yeah, they'll tell you, right? It's not just about grammar, but these 7 concepts. They are selling you the wrong thing. All right, they're probably selling you the thing of, you know, like you can get to like a good score on the verbal, perhaps, you know, maybe reach a 700. No, I don't want you to do just that. I want you to break that easily, right? I want you to break out of that, and that's exactly what it is. All right, so you see how we put these 3 things together. It is, get it? So that's what I wanted to show you. All right, so let's deal with a couple more questions in a very fancy way, but I want to show exactly how to work with that. Okay, but I hope this part was clear to all of you guys. Can I get a yes from you guys that this part was very clear, that this construction concept and logic based attack was perfectly fine? Yes, you got it? Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, now the objective is to use a codified approach. All right, see, you see, in the question that I showed, it's so long, right? It's so long, you think it may be time consuming, you think, but it's not. If we know exactly how to look for these errors and attack those errors, your job is very, very simple. The objective is to find crucial differences among the answer choices. So many people, right, if I just showed you this question right from the start, if I showed you this question initially, what would have happened is you would have read every single one of these answer choice, taken a load of time, and gotten very, very confused, unless you had some experience with GMAT before, right? So the objective is to find crucial differences, and linear reading through the answer choices is very redundant. You cannot afford to read every single answer choice in length like this, like this, like this, like this, because that will consume a lot of your time and effort. The objective is to know that you will be able to catch the problems with these answer choices only when you apply a process of vertical scanning, all right, to look for hotspots, because in these hotspots is exactly where you will find crucial differences with which you can work. Let me show you a question. All right, let me show you a question. Typical, this is an official question. Scientists have recently found evidence that, don't worry about working on this, let me take you through this. All right, let's see how exactly I ask students to apply this vertical scan method. Scientists have recently found evidence that black holes, guys, if such a thing occurs in the non-underlined portion, please get rid of that. Do not worry about that. All right, scientists have recently found evidence that black holes probably exist at the core of nearly all galaxies, and the mass of each black hole is proportional to its host galaxy. Okay, fine, sounds good, but now let me take a vertical scan. And you know where one of the best places to vertically scan is? The beginning of the answer choices. Now you see the split. There is exist and exists. And I can work with this split. You know why? Because this question, I immediately know that this is a verb split. That exist is a plural verb, okay? And exist is a singular verb, right? So what should I say? The boys play or the boys plays? Which is correct? The boys play or the boys plays? Which is correct? Play. Good. So you see, the boys is plural, right? The plural should obviously take a plural verb. But when I say the boy, what should I say? When I say the boy, what should I say? Play or plays? Obviously with the S, correct? So now you see, scientists have recently found evidence that black holes, we have a plural noun here, black holes. So I know that I cannot take the S here, right? D&E go off. Just using a simple thing that you're already aware of, we saw that, you know, D&E go off. Job done. We are down to 3. Now, when we are down to these choices, you know what I can do? Go look for more hotspots. And you know what more? What other places are good for hotspots? The end of the answer choices. Now you see there is a difference. Proportional to that of, and proportional to. So this simply just does not make sense. But then there is that. All right. Okay. Can you guys tell me what this that is referring to? Can you tell me what this that is referring to? The that is what is called a pronoun, right? So obviously a pronoun will refer to some noun. Again, I don't want to get into in-depth grammar, just simply asking you. What is that? Very good. It refers to the mass. Perfect. It refers to the mass. So if I think like that, now, you know, I've applied my grammar rule. That refers to mass. This is a pronoun thing. You saw that it was one among the 7 concepts, right? Now, what I'll do is, I will see that A and C is saying the mass is proportional to the host galaxy. And B is saying the mass of the black hole is proportional to the mass of the host galaxy. Now apply some logic, guys. The mass will be proportional to the galaxy, or the mass of the black hole will be proportional to the mass of the galaxy. Which is correct by mathematical, ratios? What exactly is the right logic to convey? The mass of the black hole is proportional to the galaxy itself, or the mass of the black hole is proportional to the mass of the galaxy? Which is correct? Exactly, right? The latter one. The second one is correct. So there you go. Your job done. B is your answer. You see that? That's exactly what I mean by a refined methodology to quickly work with sentence correction and finish off this question in less than a minute or so. This is not a very high level question, right? This is a medium level question, but I still wanted to show you this approach, that this is what will apply even in a high level question, because I'm going to show you a couple of high level questions right now. But I hope you understand exactly where I'm coming from, the way to attack such questions. So I will tell you exactly why the beginning is very effective, why the end is very effective, and all of that. All right, these beginning and the end are very effective hotspots because the underlying portion in these places, the underlying portion is connected to the non-underlying portion. You understand? That is exactly why these are hotspots. So using what is there in the non-underlying portion, we can judge what is there in the underlying portion. It's as simple as that. Get it? So by this vertical scan, if you're able to catch these differences in these hotspots, your job is like snappy. All right, your approach is super snappy. But of course, only when you know what rule to apply here, right? I'll never take away from that. But you once again see how we still approached it by concepts, how we still approach meaning and things like that, right? So I'm gonna go to a high level question now. So I want to spice things up, right? Because, you know, I want to see exactly how you work with this also, and something really interesting to take away as well. All right? Go ahead, guys. Solve this question. Now I think you know that you have to vertically scan through the answer choices and all of that. Yes? Solve this question. Let's see what you get. Some people were lightning quick. Awesome. I'm impressed. Go on. I'm still waiting. Don't worry. No rush. Sure at C. Yeah, cool. And I get many B's and C's. Many B's and C's, B's and C's, B's and C's. Awesome. Awesome. B's and C's, B's and C's. That's what I keep commonly getting. I will definitely clarify this with the example. Okay, C is the answer. Perfect. All right, fine. Let's see. All right, let's see. You guys ready? Yeah, you guys worked with the vertical scan. I'm very happy about that because that's exactly how many of you in a flash gave me that, B is the answer, C is the answer, right? Okay, let's start with first one. Okay, so in this question, what we see is in 1791, Robert Carter III, one of the wealthiest, blah, blah, blah. All this, these are all descriptions. Forget it. I don't care. Robert Carter III stunned his family, friends, and neighbors, setting free the more than 500 slaves who were legally considered his property. Cool. And that kind of sounds weird because when we take a vertical scan through the answer choices, I can see a difference between the setting and the and set, correct? Setting and the and set. So we just need to work with that difference. I think you guys remember what I talked about, this comma plus this ing form. You want me to take you back to that slide? Very easy, right? Just have to take you back to this one. Suggesting to investors that the central, what did I say this was a case of, guys? What did I say this was a case of? When we have this comma plus this present participle modifier, what did I say this was a case of? I told you that this could indicate a case of simultaneous actions, correct? Yes, good. Simultaneous actions, wonderful. So now going front actually. All right. So let's look at it this way. If I said Tom exercised, or let's say, no, sorry, let me say it like this. Tom had a cup of coffee and left for work. Here's a question for you guys. Are these two actions, do these two actions have any dependency on each other, guys? Tom had a cup of coffee and left for work. Do these two actions have any dependency on each other? Very good. You all logically can immediately understand this and has no bearing on creating a dependency. Rather, what it creates is an independency, that this is a separate action and this is a separate action. Get it? These are two separate actions. So if I look at it like this, setting free and set free, what happens is that this and is actually saying that this set free more than 500 slaves is actually a separate action. So on the one hand, Robert Carter stunned his family, friends, and neighbors. How did he stun? I don't know. He pulled a surprise. What surprise? Who knows? Right? Maybe he stood behind his door and, like as they walked through the door, he jumped at them or something. So he stunned them. Right? So that is just a simple, like that is a separate action. And then, another separate action is he set free more than 500 slaves. Okay, so that also he did. So you see, do you think that is what the intended meaning of this sentence is? That we need to create an independency between these two actions? If we're able to say that, he was, Tom, had a cup of coffee and left for work were two independent actions, that's the same grammatical rule that will apply here, the same logical rule that will play here, CDNE out. That's it, CDNE out. These are not two independent actions, because you know that you want to say that he stunned them by doing this. You want to say that he stunned them by doing that. And I just pointed out how this present participle modifier, right? This present participle modifier is actually creating a case of simultaneous actions. I told you that. So only A and B can work because you want to create a dependency on this action, of the setting free action on the stun, because it is modifying the meaning like that he stunned them by doing this thing. Get it? Now obviously, right, everybody, B, everybody, correct? He's setting free more than 500 slaves legally considered and setting free the more than 500 slaves. Obviously, this is so sounding off, isn't it? This is sounding so damn off, right? Right? Cool. All right. Let's say, all right, I want you to consider a situation. I had some money in my wallet. I had like, more than 500 rupees and some things and all of that, yeah? A thief stole my wallet. So what should I say? A thief stole more than 500 rupees in my wallet, or let's say from my wallet. All right, better. A thief stole more than 500 rupees from my wallet. Okay, so the main difference is here is that I did not write this article the. The, all right? So I want to write the here. A thief stole more than 500. I want to introduce the. So let's put it here because that sounds perfect. A thief stole more than the 500 rupees from my wallet. Guys, do you know what this means? What is the usage of the word the? Can anybody tell me what is the usage of the word the? Thank you, Anua. Thank you so much. What is the usage of the word the? The is perfect. It's a definite article. Some of you are grammatically versed as well. Good. So it's a definite article which is used to refer to something specific, right? When I say an apple, it is some random apple. But when I say the apple, it is some specific apple. So same way, if I said the 500 from my wallet, you know what the thief stole? The thief stole more than the 500. So that means he took the 500, the specific 500 rupees that I had in my wallet, and he stole more than that as well. That means he might have stolen my credit cards, my debit cards, or whatever be it in my wallet. You get it? So particularly he stole the 500 and he stole more than the 500 as well. That means he took my other things as well. But if I said the thief stole the more than 500 from my wallet, all right, what this means is that the definite article applies to the more than 500. So more than 500 is what? Maybe 501, 502, 510, 600, 700, blah, blah, blah. So that means the thief stole this much money from my wallet, right? It could be anything more than 500, but it's definitely not only 500, it's definitely more than, but the is indicating that it's a value more than 500. Get it now? So think about it logically here. All right. If I said he set free more than the 500 slaves legally considered as his property, that means only 500 slaves were legally considered as his property and he set free more than that. How is that possible? If only 500 slaves were considered his property, how can he set free more than the 500 slaves considered his property? But when you say the more than 500 slaves, what does it mean? It could be 600 or 700 or 800 or 501 or 502. So it could be the more than 500 slaves who are legally considered as property. A is your answer. You understand now? That's exactly why logic is important. That's exactly why the thought process is important. You get it now? You can see the difference and you can judge by sound. Because, you know, that's how it sounds to us. We never speak like this. The more than, who speaks like that? But that's exactly how it is. Are we clear? Yeah? Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for the feedback. Yeah. Appreciate it. But yeah, see, concepts and logic. Very important. All right. Do you want one more? Do you want one more or you're in a rush? What do you think? It's a 700 level question, all right? It's a 700 plus level question. I don't want to discuss, you know, very cheap level questions or something, all right? One more. Awesome. Awesome. All right. Okay, so I have one more for you, all right? Here we go. Try this now. Many of you have given me D and all that. Many of you have given B and all that. Some of you C, all right, cool. Yeah, keep it going. Shall we take a look at it? Because, you know, can I ask you an honest opinion? Don't you think a lot of these answer choices actually sound right? Don't you think so? A lot of these answer choices sound right, like sound, only by sound, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, almost all of them sound right, don't they? Okay, cool. So, guys, before researchers learned how to make a synthetic growth hormone, removing it painstakingly in small amounts, nobody went for A. Why? Nobody went for A. Why? When you read the question, why didn't anybody go for A? When you read it, why did you feel that was wrong? Before scientists learned how to make a synthetic growth hormone, removing it painstakingly in small amounts from the pituitary glands of human cadavers. Why? Yes, very good. This has a construction problem. Guys, can you tell me whether this is a complete sentence? Because he is sick. Is this a complete sentence? Because he is sick, is that a complete sentence? No, absolutely not. It is not at all. And we already know what this is, right? We've already seen this in a couple of examples. Removing it painstakingly, right? This is a modifier construction, this present participle modifier construction, but this is just a modifier. This doesn't make a complete sentence. So I know I can directly get rid of A. No need to read A again. That's a job done. A is out. Now, all of these sounded right to you, correct? All of these sounded right to you. So one thing that can be noticed is a conceptual attack, all right? All of these answer choices contain the pronoun it, okay? All of these answer choices contain the pronoun it. Cool. So now the question is, what does that it refer to? Okay, what is the it refer to? Okay, let me give you an example. Before the invention of the smartphone, it was used to make calls. Okay, before the invention of the smartphone, it was used to make calls. Can you tell me what this it is referring to? Is this, what is this it referring to? Tell me. In this one sentence, there's only one sentence. So what is this it referring to? Smartphone. Yes, smartphone, correct? So if it is referring to smartphone, does it make logical sense? Does the sentence make logical sense? Before the invention of the smartphone was used to make calls. Does it make logical sense? Absolutely not. But one thing that I want to point out is that this it is definitely referring to smartphone and not just phone alone. Correct? It's not referring to phone alone. The phone was used to make calls, you can say. Probably that's the logic. Before the invention of the smartphone was used to make calls is absolutely wrong. So guys, in the same way, what is this it referring to? In B, in C, in D, in E, let's understand. Is the it referring only to hormone, or referring to the growth hormone, or referring to synthetic growth hormone? In C, in B I'm asking, right? What does it refer to? Is it only hormone, growth hormone, or synthetic growth hormone? What is it referring to? The it. The synthetic growth hormone. Absolutely, right? The synthetic growth hormone, correct? In C and E, what is the it referring to? Here we do not have synthetic growth hormone, we have just the growth hormone. Yes or no? We have just the growth hormone. So that is a crucial logical difference. You know why? Because what is the meaning of synthetic, guys? What is the meaning of synthetic? Artificial, correct? Artificial. So if I put artificial growth hormone in this place, the logic would read that they had to remove the artificial growth hormone from the pituitary glands of human cadavers. How in the world can I extract an artificial man-made, right, man-made hormone from human bodies? I can't. So many of you went for B because it sounded right, but right, the it refers to the artificial growth hormone. And how can I how can I extract an artificial hormone from a human body? B goes off, D goes off. We're down to only C and E now. Now you understand? That was the attack. See, concept is there, but logic also has to be there. All right. And now, simple thing here, simple thing. That's all. Here it's saying it had to be painstakingly removed, and it had to be painstakingly removed and all of that, right? Now, it had to be painstakingly removed, it has to be painstakingly removed, blah, blah, blah. What exactly do you think? You know, what is, even though this is a very high level question, okay, there is one simple thing that can be done here. See, when I say before learning how to synthesize the growth hormone, before learning how to, guys, who is learning? Who is learning? It's not about passive voice, because you can see both C and E are passive. So please don't think that. Before learning how to synthesize the growth hormone, it's a very simple thing that I'm asking you. Who's learning, guys? Who's learning? The scientist. Exactly, right? The scientist. So, does it refer to the scientist here? So before learning how to synthesize the growth hormone, right? So the growth hormone is not learning. When you put the it here, it is referring to the growth hormone, fine. But then this would indicate the meaning that the growth hormone is learning how to synthesize the growth hormone, which is absolutely invalid. All right? E goes off, C is your answer. Before scientists learned how to synthesize the growth hormone, It had to be painstakingly removed. So you see, the crucial difference was the logical catch of how these phrases were changed. Synthetic growth hormone versus the growth hormone. So I hope you understand exactly how this makes sense. All right. So that's exactly why C is answer. So again, you see, this is a high level question. This is a 700 plus level question. Again, it wanted construction. Again, it wanted concepts. Again, it wanted meaning, right? Again, every 700 plus level question is mainly testing you for these things. You understand? If we do not have these things, that's it, right? Our approach to sentence correction will not be full-fledged. All right, so I hope this is clear. I hope you enjoy these two examples, because I really wanted to show you this is the way I want to approach sentence correction, and not from a half-baked fashion or anything like that. All right, so what is the question? Sorry, does it refer to hormone? The growth hormone. Yeah, in C, it refers to the growth hormone, right? It'll obviously refer to that, not just hormone. It will not do that. Okay, so this is how I have kind of segregated this. SC is very concept heavy. As you just realized, there are a lot of, I told you there are 7 concepts and all that, but at the same time, construction based aspects and meaning based aspects. Now these are, please mind you, remember what Ashank said, these are not the only classes. That means this doesn't mean that you're only going to get total of 18 classes, not at all. All right, there is going to be an official guide and verbal reasoning question discussion every weekday. Most people that I've seen just teach concepts, and in the class they deal with 3 or 4 or 5 questions to apply that concept, and that's it. No further discussion is done, because they only say, go solve these questions from the official guide to solve the concept. Your job is done. But that's not what I want to do. I want to make sure that I'm there for you. So after we learn a concept, right? For example, when we start with SE, the fundamentals, and let's say we're learning subject verb agreement, then I'll tell you, right? There's a study plan. I'll tell you, these are the questions you go and attack for subject verb agreement from the official guide and the verbal review. Then I want you to come back to me on a weekday, right? A late weekday session. We would have time. I want you to use your weekdays well. Work on these questions, come back to me so that we can discuss these questions properly. All right, there will be time for that. I'll plan the session accordingly. And once these concepts are covered, right, there will always be workshops for advanced questions discussion. There will always be workshops for that in an advanced level, because GMAT launches this separate guide. Hardly anybody knows that. That's called an advanced questions guide that they sell and all that. All right, and that question has insanely high level questions, and those are for the people who are aiming for the high 700s, right? So we will also talk about questions from that. And somebody asked me, like, how do you take the RC and the CR? See the number of sessions. In critical reasoning also, there are some concepts. There are these find the assumption questions, strengthen questions, weaken questions, draw the inference, resolve a paradox. For each of these question type, I will dedicate my time to talking about the conceptual attack on these questions. How do you use your logical reasoning skills on these questions? And I will direct you towards what, and in class also, right? In my class also, there will be some questions to work with. But after my session, I will direct you to the exact questions you need to target for those concepts. And you need to come back to me for these official guide verbal discussion every weekday, right? We will do that. I mean, every weekday, matlab not Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Like once in the weekdays, we will definitely do that. And as far as reading comprehension is concerned, guys, wow, that's a completely different ball game. Yeah, I have most of the things out there for reading comprehension is barely sufficient, honestly. So this is how I split reading comprehension also for the people who are curious. I start with a class in which I teach the reading skill, right? You've seen GMAT passages. They are long as hell, right? I teach a reading skill to digest any passage in 2 minutes. I'm not kidding, all right? Because I talk about a style of reading called analytical reading that you need to implement into these passages. And I'll show you exactly how that vastly differs from your regular reading style on reading comprehension. In your everyday life, right? So analytical reading can help us digest a passage in 2 minutes. So the first class will be dedicated to that. The second class will be dedicated to what type of questions are asked, and how to approach these questions. That's what the second class is for. And this might pour over a little bit into the third session as well. And I talk about the traps they set in answer choices, what kind of answer choices they usually set as traps. And this identification can help us with the process of elimination. And in the fourth class, I talk about what exactly is comprehension overall. How exactly does a GMAT taker need to comprehend context in a reading comprehension while answering questions, and a small test to just top it off. All right, this is exactly how I divide these 4 classes of reading comprehension. So critical reasoning also, you know that there are these 8 to 9 subsets of critical reasoning, right? The find the assumption, strengthen, weaken, flaw, paradox, evaluate, boldface, and all of this. For each of these, there will be sessions dedicated to these things so that you can learn it properly and apply them properly and take it back. So every single time I want to make sure that you guys take the most away from the weekend classes and utilize your weekdays well. And before the next weekend sessions, come back for that weekday session in which we are going to discuss the questions that I've assigned for homework. All right. So I hope this is clear. This is exactly how I have planned these sessions, and this can be done in this two-month time frame that you have. All right. And support is definitely a comprehensive support, guys. I know that when you guys come back to me with doubts and all that, it will be from a very individual perspective, right? Like everybody sitting on this session with me is different. So I know exactly what you guys would require and all that. So in these discussion sessions that I have every weekday, I will approach it from a broad perspective. But when you guys send me doubts personally, I'll approach it from a very personal perspective. All right. So this is what I from my side have to offer for like let's say from the side of ConceptsEra as well. All right. So I hope you like this workshop. I hope you like my approach to these questions. I hope this was indeed kind of eye-opening, that you saw a very nice interesting way to attack these questions, right? Because in the end, I only tell this to students: enjoy what you're doing in verbal. Don't see verbal as a pain point. I know we're Indians and all that, but enjoy what you're doing in verbal and things will go super smooth here. Trust me on that. All right. So I hope this is pretty clear. And as I said before, the recording will definitely be sent to you guys. Don't worry about that. So do you have any follow-up questions for me? I'll probably just leave the chat open for 2 minutes for any follow-up questions. On the other hand, I hope you really enjoyed. Thank you so much for being here, guys. Right? I'll keep the chat open for any follow-up questions. All right. Thank you so much for your patience and all that. You guys are great. You guys are very interactive. Thank you. Yes, every study material that you require, we will provide you with soft copies of the official guides. We will provide you with official question banks of every retired GMAT prep question that was launched. I mean, I'm not talking about the test. I'm talking about the prep questions they launched, right? Because people can only access the ones that they launched in the market. So we'll give you question banks for all of that. So I hope you guys, so don't worry about that, guys. You're fully covered, all right? You would not need to invest in anything. You will also get access to section wise marks, comprehensive marks and things like that. Don't worry about all of these. So it is pretty comprehensive, right? We don't want to leave anything on what do you say for that, any loops untied or something they say, right? Where any strings untied, we don't want to leave it like that. All right. Yes, I will cover everything. Everything is the whole verbal. I am in charge of the whole verbal. It's not going to be like change in teachers or something like that. So I will cover the entire thing. All right. Thank you for your feedback. I highly appreciate that. I'm glad you enjoyed it, guys. Yes, that will also be covered, guys. AW and IR also will be covered. IR is part of quants and AW is part of verbal. I told you, right, this is just my breakup of SC, RC and CR. Please do not think that these are the only classes that you get, all right? Please don't think that. There are more classes. I will definitely cover all of that. I thought you guys have the mail with our contact number because that's how you got to a workshop. But here you go. Please take the contact number and kindly get back to us. I hope to see you all in our upcoming batch and all that. Yes, profile building also. Please get in touch with this number and we'll give you more information on profile building and things like that. All right. Yes, Abhishek, we do have questions in which we are solving official guide questions together. That's exactly what I talked about, right? That on a live session, on a live session itself. It's not going to be a recording that is going to be sent to you to say, like, follow this to follow the official guide explanations or something like that. No, we will do it on the live. Okay, and it'll be, every session will be recorded. So even if you miss something, you will definitely get access to the recording. So everything will be recorded. No worries. All right, guys, take care. Bye bye. I'm ending the meeting now. All right, bye.